Thank you very much for joining me today. My name is Michael Smith, the National Consumer Education Manager of Janome, Canada. So thank you very much for joining me for another edition of A to Z with Janome. And can you believe it? We're already up to the letter N, which are our Pintuck feet. We have an N1, which is the wide groove, and the N2 is the narrow groove. So again, these are the other Wonder Twins. So they're very cute. And yes, we just passed the halfway mark for Janome HQ as we go through the alphabet. So we're on the downward slide. So here is my adorable sample with the N1 and N2 piping feet, narrow and wide groove. So they help give you rows and rows of beautiful parallel pintucks. Is a great surface embellishment, decorative element to your fabric, but it's really cool. I'm going to show you some Pintuck guides that we have as well, that will really help you use various cords to make corded pintucks very accurately and neatly. So pintucks, we're able to do a variety of beautiful pintucks using these Pintuck feet. So Pintucks, Pintucks grabs the fabric. It's two parallel lines of stitching, and it ever so slightly picks it up to make it dimensional, because in order we use two needles, a twin needle, and then on the back side it is a zigzag that runs in between, and that zigzag helps kind of pull the fabric together. That makes it a dimensional pintuck. Now on these ones, then these are just the regular pintuck, no cord underneath them, but then these ones are corded, so they're a little more dimensional. I don't have to worry about, pressing them flat with the iron, for example. So again, they work out really well, and again, that zigzag is across the back of the cord there, so it's all nice and neat. So again, beautiful on a blouse, or it could be a skirt, or anything, a variety of home deck projects. So very cute. And then of course we can experiment with some of the stitches on the machine. This is something where when I get some time, I really want to do some bigger sample of all of this. I think would be beautiful surface embellishment. So here are our regular two parallel rows of stitching, but then here's some of the more decorative stitches. Even this is our utility blind hem stitch. When we did our blind hem for the G foot, this is that stitch, but with a twin needle, it looks very different. And this is an overcast stitch for the knit fabric, but again, with a twin needle, it looks very different. And how cool these look up here with a serpentine, and again, some of the decorative stitches built into your machine, perhaps. Then you could use the twin needle to stitch those out, and what a great, again, surface embellishment they would make. Now, you're not able to, and I'll explain a little more, with these decorative stitches, you're not able to use the Pintuck feet, because then they don't fit into the channels, but you can do them with a twin needle. Now, twin needles have been around for quite some time. If your machine can do a zigzag, basically, if it has a wide groove in the needle plate, you can pretty much use a twin needle with some cautions, which again I will talk about. But twin needles, they're in various sizes. Average is 2 millimeters, which I have, or most common, I guess, would be this 2 millimeter one that I have here. And again, it's a single shaft, just like a regular needle, but then there's a prong, and it basically goes into two. So it's two needles. Obviously, you need two spools of thread to thread up your machine. Same bobbin as usual, and then again on the bobbin side, it does this zigzag. On the top side, it's two parallel lines of stitches, very beautiful. This will mimic, great for a hem. This will mimic what our cover hem machines do. The CPX 900, CPX 1000, CPX 2000. Our cover hem machines will do this same two rows, or even the CPX 1000 and 2000 will do three needles of stitching, and then on the back side it's like this zigzag stitch. So this would be great for a hem, or again, great surface embellishment to use a variety of sizes of twin needles. So that's available as well. Now, some of our machines come with this little package of needles that already has a twin needle. This is a 2mm wide twin needle, which is what the Pintuck Feet recommend, that you use a 2mm wide Pintuck or a twin needle to do the Pintucks with the Pintuck Feet. And if your machine did not come with one, then you can order this package. It's got a 2mm wide twin needle for Pintucks. Then it's got the 2 blue tip needle, a purple tip needle, and a red tip needle in it. So it's a good variety pack, but you can order this from your Janome dealer. And then let me move this out of the way. Let me move that out of the way. So I will show you the Pintuck feet. Now you can use, if you were to do Pintucks without these feet, then I would use like maybe your F foot, or this is the F2 foot that has the, it's like the satin stitch foot, so it has the groove on the underside to allow like that Pintuck to form. So I would use a foot like that, but preferably, I'll just tuck that in there. Preferably, I love using, again, with your 2mm wide twin needle, you will use the N1 is the wide groove Pintuck foot, or the N2, whoops, is the narrow groove Pintuck foot. And what makes them very special is you can see all these beautiful multiple rows, even spaced rows of grooves on the underside of the foot. So that allows the Pintuck to form, and again allows you to use a variety of cords. And much like when I reviewed the piping foot, the I foot last week, you can go back to the Janome HQ YouTube channel to watch that video on the piping foot, or check out the IGTV that's on our main Janome HQ Instagram page, the little IGTV icon. It looks like a TV with antenna. So I demoed the piping foot, and I did just this, that I took a variety of cords and I put it through the groove of that foot, and then laid the foot then on the table, and then made sure, can that cording go through that groove very easily? And then for my wide, I would do the same. I would get a variety of cord, and then just make sure that, can I slip that cord through easily, and then I know I'm able to use it. And if preferable, once you order these are optional presser feet. They don't come with any of our machines, but once you order these from your Janome dealer, preferably I'd say take these to the craft store with you to make sure that your cording will fit through those grooves. And again, they come in the separate blister pack. Now I'm using the Continental M7 today, which is a 9mm wide machine, so I made sure that mine are 9mm wide. These are also available as a combo pack for some of the 7mm machines and 5mm machines. I think have the narrow groove one. So again, double check with your Janome dealer to make sure you get the correct foot for your correct machine. And as always, again, there's instructions on the back of the blister pack as well that tell you exactly, again, 2mm wide groove. So I want to use a 2mm wide twin needle to make that. So when I go to thread up my twin needle, if you want to follow me up here to the top of the machine, the Continental M7 is great. I've got the 2 vertical spool pins, so that makes it very easy. If your machine threads horizontally with a horizontal spool pin here, chances are you have a secondary spool pin in your accessory box, and there'll be a little hole somewhere around the front of the machine, and then you'll put that secondary spool pin. It'll be a vertical spool pin that, or sometimes it is a horizontal as well, actually. So it'll be a secondary spool pin that you'll put in that little hole that allows you to, again, wind the bobbin without having to unthread that main horizontal spool. But it'll also allow you to use a twin needle as well. So as always as well, to use the twin needles safely, and for threading tips and everything, consult your instruction manual. I like making these little tabs with the sticky notes on my instruction manual, so then I know I can easily flip through that page of reference. So make sure you consult your manual to see if your machine, again, is compatible with the twin needle, and to make sure you do it all correctly and safely. So yes, I would use those 2 spool pins for 2 spools of thread. And my Continental M7 instruction manual recommends, actually, I thread them slightly different. I have 1 spool of thread coming through this guide here and across, and then I have the other that comes up from the spool and through the telescoping thread stand, and then it just comes over to this guide up here. So again, that's where consulting your manual helps, just because it keeps the 2 lines of thread separate, so to avoid excess twisting of the threads together. It just helps keep them separate, makes it a little easier. But then once I get to this thread guide here, then I just thread them as always. Then they're threaded individually, though. I just start threading as usual, and then when I get down to the needle down here, so they're through the thread guide as always. I do 1 thread at a time, but once I get down to the needle, this is where they branch off into the left needle and the right needle, basically. Now, you're not able to use your needle threader, regardless of what machine you have. You're not able to use the needle threader with your twin needle. So these needle threaders make it very easy. These are available in a separate blister pack, again, from your dealer. Our CPX 1000 and 2000, and I believe the 900 come with this tool. Actually, it's very handy. But again, it's a couple of bucks at your Janome dealer. And what it is, there's little notches on this threader. There's a notch there and a notch there, so I have the notch facing up. And I lay my thread across. There's little grooves at the side there of the threader. I lay my thread across, and then as I position this against the needle, and this guide disappears and retracts, and you'll see, I hope, there's a wire, whoops, that comes out, and then it's through that wire that we've put that through the eye of the needle, and then that's what sticks our strand of thread through the needle, through the eye of the needle. Then it'll create a little loop, and then even there's a little notch on the edge of that threader, so then I can grab that loop of thread through the notch and help pull it through the eye of the needle. So again, it's a little tricky to demo to really get in there and see, but it's a really cool tool, and that'll help make threading your twin needles much easier. Oh, and I wanted to give you a tip too. Now, when you put your needle in, and this goes for every needle, and you want to make sure the needle is up as high as it can go into the post. So then I always tightened this screw, like, to make it tight. So, you know, and I always thought, you know, being a guy, that, oh yeah, I'm strong enough. I don't need to use my screwdriver to tighten that screw. But I've had it happen because, especially with the speed of some of our machines, you know, the Continental M7 will go 1,300 stitches a minute. So sometimes with the speed of the machine, that needle could wiggle its way down by not tightening it up securely. So I've just tightened it like thumb tight, but if you watch when I get my screwdriver in there, I can tighten that up a good quarter turn more to really make it tight. I don't want to, you know, really ream it like crazy. I don't want to snap anything, break anything. But again, I could totally make that tighter. So now that I know I've used my screwdriver, that twin needle is not going anywhere. So it's just more of a safety precaution. But as well, when people say, oh, I don't understand, why are my stitches not looking right? Maybe the needle looks like it's all the way up, but if you didn't use your screwdriver to firmly stick it up in there, then maybe the needle has worked its way down a little. So always nice to double check, and again, it's safer that way too. So yes, now I will snap on, I'll just use the wide groove and snap that into place. So now really, so long as your machine can do a zigzag, yes, you can use a twin needle, but be very careful to make sure that you have enough clearance. You don't want this needle to swing. If you were doing like a decorative stitch or a zigzag stitch, you don't want the needles to swing too wide to damage your needle plate. So whenever you're going to use a new foot and a new needle, a new technique, I always recommend turning the flywheel by hand, that you walk the needle by hand, as I call it, so then you know that the needle isn't going to swing too far one way or the other. It's also a good time to turn the speed of your machine down if you can, or just be very light on the power. So then, again, you just want to make sure that it's going to clear your needle plate and nothing's going to hit and potentially break a needle. But this is why the instruction manual of the Continental M7 recommends using the 2mm wide needle, knowing that it's safe to use for any of the applicable stitches, and it's fine. So again, consult your manual.
And fabric collectors just assuming that he could use the screwdriver with a single needle as well.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yes, I recommend using the screwdriver to tighten all of your needles, just to make sure that they stay there. So up on my screen, I could use, if I'm just doing a regular twin needle, then I can use like a regular straight stitch. But if you follow me up here to the screen, some of our machines have this extra built-in safety feature, and it's really wonderful that I've got this little icon here. Right now it's kind of grayed out. It is a twin needle, and it's grayed out. The background square here is a dark blue. That means it's not selected. So if I touch this icon with that twin needle icon, you'll see some of my stitches here are going to gray out. And now my twin needle is selected, so it's yellow. And then yes, some of these stitches here have been grayed out, which means I can't use them with my twin needle. So some of our machines have this extra twin needle safety precaution is what it is. So that's a really, I think, valuable feature, because, you know, when I'm excited about something and I really get into it, I don't always, check these things ahead of time. Anything that I tell you, I know from experience to say, like, double check that your twin needle is going to clear your needle plate and all of that. I've learned from experience the hard way what can happen if you don't double check it first, and if you don't take things slowly and evenly to make sure that they work correctly. So I love having this extra built-in safety feature. So now when I have my twin needle selected, all the other stitches that are not compatible have been grayed out. So I can do just a regular pin tuck I'm using my wide N1, sorry, my wide N1 Pintuck foot. So there's my beautiful pin tuck. And then again on the back, I just see a little bit of my zigzag there. Now, the secret of these Pintuck feet, both the wide and the narrow groove, is I can align that lineup of stitching wherever I want in one of those grooves of the foot. Whoops, I'll line it up a little better. I line it up in the groove, so that way I don't need to mark my fabric. I might mark it just once to make that first line of stitching, and all I need to do is just make sure that that previous pintuck stays in that groove. Like, it really works itself. I let the foot do the work for me, and I have a perfectly even spaced new pintuck. So then I can go back and use that same groove, and I can very quickly and easily, again, professionally, this could be a whole blouse or again a skirt, or I could embellish this fabric first and then make a handbag out of this, a tote bag, a wallet, a little zipper pouch, you know, whatever, that it's a really great surface embellishment. I could certainly make this a contrasting element, as I have here, using contrasting thread, or I could match it with my fabric, and it's a great surface embellishment as well. Now, I've got the advantage of, again, some of our machines have the t-shirt icon is the sewing applications menu. So a number of our machines have the sewing applications menu. And what that is basically the machine is asking you, well, what do you want to do? So if I select this, then, well, let me go back here. And I'm going to deselect my twin needle. So now it's all back to regular stitching. So when I select my t-shirt, my sewing applications, I can find my pin tucks in this extra presser foot. It's that presser foot with the plus icon. And again, we've already been here doing the beading foot, and we've done the piping foot, the cording foot, we did the applique foot. Here is the pin tuck foot. So I can select that. So going through sewing applications is another way the machine will set up all the settings for us in order to safely use the twin needle. And in this case, it's recommending I can do the narrow N2 foot or the wide N1 foot. I've got the N1 already. So again, that the machine's already set up for it. But now I want to do some corded pintucks. So I remove my bobbin cover here. And in this fabulous blister pack, you know what, I just discovered these not long ago, and even though Janome's had them for quite some time, but I didn't know anything about them. So I just found these Pintuck Cord Guides, and these are for the easy set bobbin, like I have here on my machine, that has the thread cutter off to the side, and then the bobbin cover, again, is easily removed. So this is what's referred to as the easy set model. So again, a number of our machines have this configuration. But yes, and instructions on the back of the blister pack on how you use these Pintuck cording guides. And they're basically, it comes in the set of two for a wide and a narrow. The narrow is A and the wide is B, but to help myself remember, I just put a little W on the B bobbin cover, so then I know it's the wide one. But these basically are the same size as the bobbin cover. So you just take off the bobbin cover that comes with your machine, and then here is the Pintuck Guide bobbin cover, the wide one, specifically the B one. So I snap that into place. And then it's got this cute little, maybe I'll take it off, you can see it a little better. It's got this cute little guide right at the tip of that cover. So when I snap that into place, I can take a variety of cords, again, up to 2 millimeters for the wide Pintuck groove foot, and I just snap my cord into place. Now I'm going to use a slightly heavier one so you can really see it. So again, I would take this preferably to the store, and just to make sure, can I snap it in there okay? And then yes, and I know that'll feed through, no problem, nothing's going to get hung up or anything. So now I can take my fabric, and then, so this guide is going to keep this cording directly through the center of my foot. So I'm going to, stitch. And again, I've got wide selected. Ooh, some of my threads. So yes, then it's going to stitch. I've got, again, 2 millimeters wide is what the machine recommends for the twin needle, and the foot I'm able to use only the 2 millimeter wide twin needle with these Pintuck feet. So I will just trim that thread, and then I will trim some of my threads here. But then, yes, there is my corded pintuck, and you can see what great dimension that is. That really fills it out nicely, and that way, again, I don't need to worry about pressing this flat and crushing it when I iron it. There, you can barely see the zigzag that goes across to secure it, so it's nicely and neatly finished on the inside. So if this were like an unlined blouse, for example, that wouldn't be irritating to the skin, you know, at all. That would be perfectly fine. Or again, this would be great for a tote bag, any kind of surface embellishment. And so now I would do the same, just as I did before. I would take this previous Pintuck that I created and decide, oh, what groove I'm going to go in.
Quick question.
Yes.
Fabric collector wants to know, is that available on this 500 machine?
The Pintuck feet would fit in them, yes. I don't know if you've got that twin needle Pintuck guide on your machine, like that that safety button. I don't know if you have that in your machine, but these feet, yes, that you they are available for the 6500 is a 7mm machine, I believe. So yes, they are available from your dealer. So yes, and again, that makes very nice, even, perfect parallel rows. And then there's a little sample here, rows and rows and rows. And then again, maybe you can see the tails here. I've used a variety of different Pintuck, or different cording. So again, some yarns and some floss. So they can be very delicate or more dimensional. And really, to get started, all you need to do, maybe you can see it, just one groove. Even I didn't mark my fabric with any kind of pencil or anything. I was worried maybe it won't come out. So this is a hair marker specifically. But then I just groove my fabric there. That I line up my ruler, and then this just makes a groove in my fabric. So then I can see this would be where I start my Pintucks. So once I have that initial row of Pintuck started, then I can go back and start using the grooves of my foot. I could do it to the right side or the left side, and all I've done was mark my fabric with one little groove, one little marking, and the rest is all achieved. All those even parallel rows are all achieved by using the grooves of the foot. So again, how very easy that is. And I thought how fun it would be. You take a striped fabric and you use the stripes, and I start following, making Pintucks along the stripes of the fabric. Now how fun that would be. So there's a lot you can do to embellish your fabric that way.
Barbara asked, will the bobbin cover the 1100 machine?
Of your 1100? Oh, that, yes. Perfect timing. If you want to follow me up to my computer. Because then, yes, then you need to make sure for the Pintuck Guides that you get the correct set that fit into your needle plate. So a good resource, again, check with your Janome dealer, but a good resource, again, is to find these, can you see that? The Janome bulletins. Here is on the Pintuck Cord Guide. Now this specifically says for easy set bobbin models, but down here they have for machines other than the easy set bobbin types. So here they talk about 7mm square hook cover and 7mm rectangular hook cover, all of that information there. And again, check with your Janome dealer and check with your manual, but all of those other information and the part numbers are on this bulletin. Now, where I found this bulletin, if you're in your browser, can you see here? I'm just going to type in Janome Global Site. So Janome Global Site, and then it's going to be my first selection, Janome Global Site. And I select that. Now this is the, Janome is Japanese. This is the English version of the Janome Japan main website. And you'll see there are lots of information here. I go to this Downloads tab, and I can find updates of the whatever machined, perhaps software updates, like for Artistic Digitizer. I can find some embroidery designs. I can find some sewing projects, and I can find Janome bulletins. And this menu is also down here at the sides. So I can hit Janome bulletins, and then here are a whole bunch of resources for things like our ruler feet is always a popular subject. So there's information about ruler feet and about our AccuFeed Flex professional grade foot. That's the HP foot. that we did a Janome Canada Instagram live on. Again, ruler work foot. So there's a lot of information in these bulletins. And specifically, if I scroll down my list there, here is the one for my Pintuck Cord Guides. So, and then it's also got the information, the parts numbers of the Pintuck Feet. And I print these bulletins out and I put them in a binder, a red binder, of course, for Janome, and that becomes a resource binder for myself. And again, this is how I found out about the Pintuck Guides that I never knew about. Also a good resource for what is compatible with your machine is to check out our Janome's accessory guide that is on our Janome Canada website. Now, I went through, when I talked about sergers, K. When I talked about the sergers, is the K category of machines. Then I walked you through how to access the Janome accessory guide. It's on the Janome Canada website, or even Google Janome accessory guide. And as you scroll through the guide, you will see the Pintuck Feet, and then there is all the information of what part numbers you need for which machines. And again, always check with your Janome dealer. So yes, it's a lot of information. I will definitely let you all go. Thank you so much for joining me today. So yes, just as a recap, today's Janome HQ Instagram Live is brought to you by the letter N for the N1 and the N2 Pintuck Feet. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you so much for all your questions. I love it. And yes, you can review this if you go back to the IGTV icon on the Janome HQ Instagram page. And as well, in a day or two, I'm going to be posting this to the Janome HQ YouTube channel, so then you can review it for videos as well. So tomorrow at Janome Canada at 1 p.m. Eastern, Melissa is going to be talking about the favorite stitch adjustment that, again, a number of our Janome machines can do. And then I will see you back here, Janome HQ at 1 p.m. Eastern on Friday for the O 1/4 inch piecing feet. So thank you so much for joining me. Have a fabulous day. Bye-bye.